So, hey guys, it's Miki. Welcome to Beauty Superstars. And for anyone, I guess, who's watching and doesn't know, it's like I'm a salon business coach and I help hairstylists to be able to create a career that they love as well as an income that they love. And right now, with all that's going on with coronavirus, we don't exactly know what's to come. Most of us have been on lockdown for at least a month, probably a little bit more, maybe like 6 weeks or so. I know Georgia has reopened, I think, last week, and there's a couple states that didn't close, but for the most part, a lot of us have been home. This is May 1st as I'm recording this, and it is likely that this is the month that we'll be going back into the salons. And so I just wanted to do a couple of to go through a couple of things. I had seven things, and there's actually quite a bit, but I'll just kind of give an overview of things that I feel like we really need to be paying attention to right now to make sure that we're ready to reopen our salons once we get the okay from our states. So I guess I'm going to need my glasses because I want to kind of go down the list here, but it's definitely not going to be business as usual. That I can guarantee you when you go back. Some of us, I've seen some posts. It's like, I'm just going to go old school. And, we always use barbicide. We're already doing sanitation and all that kind of stuff. So from everything that I've been reading, hearing, and studying, that is not going to be enough. There's going to be a lot more requirements to make sure that we stay safe, to make sure that our clients stay safe, if we have any team members, to make sure that they stay safe, and a lot of things to consider before we go back, because we definitely need to, hey Patricia, how you doing? Definitely need to keep ourselves healthy. Number one, we definitely want to take care of our clients. Most of us have been conscientious about our sanitation and all that kind of good stuff, but this is not business as usual. As I mentioned in the title, it'll be anything but. So on the sanitation front, I'm going to assume that you've probably heard some of the things that have been coming up. Georgia was the first to reopen, and they have quite a few rules in place for you to follow before you can actually open. I want to go through some things that you may not have considered. And of course, I'm always looking at it from, how do we profit from doing what we love to do? And so taking a look at that as well. So sanitation, one big concern is like, will we be able to find what we need when we need it? Which gloves will be something that we need, that most of us have always worked with, but now we need to wear gloves for each client, a new pair of gloves for each client. So that's automatically increasing the amount of gloves that we need on a regular basis, especially if that client is getting any chemical service. Say they're getting a hair color that you normally would have used gloves on anyway. You're going to need 2, maybe even 3 pair of gloves, depending on, what services. So maybe allow 2 pair per person, just to make sure. Woo, gloves, $20 a box. Okay, so I have a few suggestions for that. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, because number one, can we find them? And so I'm going to give you a few places to check if you're having difficulty with finding some of this stuff. And of course, this is some of the same things that the medical professionals need as well. So there's a few things that I can share with you on that. But gloves, we're looking at mask. We definitely have to have ourselves masked. With Georgia, and I haven't heard this with any other state. I've talked to several people from several different states, several different parts of the country. Some of them are set to reopen something like the 8th, which I think is next Friday, some the 15th. And so most of those state boards have the guidelines out. Some of the ones that are set to open much later, maybe toward the end of the month, maybe toward the beginning of June, don't have guidelines online yet for the beauty profession. So with the people that I've spoken to, Georgia is the only one that I've heard where they want you to change your, to wear like a smock of some sort to cover yourself, cover your clothing, and to change that in between each and every client. And that's a lot. That's a lot of purchasing whatever it is that we're going to wear over our clothing. That's a lot if we're going to purchase something that needs to be laundered. If we need to purchase something that's disposable, it's like, it's like the costs are adding up here. So with the mask, it's like you definitely need to have some for yourself. And talking with folks, it's like, we want to provide some for our guests, for our clients. My mother actually spoke with a doctor friend of hers, and she said that everybody coming into the salon should actually have mask on already. We should not be having them come into the salon and then giving them a mask, selling them a mask or whatever. They need to come in with a mask. That still provides an opportunity for us to sell masks if we can find them, if we can, have someone in our community that makes them handmade. If you have any other connections where you can get masks, masks are going to be around for the foreseeable future. And so people are going to need more than one. It'll be like our little wardrobe, I guess. And so having them available may be a great thing. And hi, Gia, looks like you've joined us. Thanks. And everybody else, I think I might be missing some things, but I'm just going to keep it moving here. But so have your clients come in with their mask on. Think about what it is you're going to wear, whether you're going to get a lab coat, whether you're going to get something that you just wear for the salon, like a uniform. Some places are suggesting that you take off whatever it is that you wore before you go home so that you're not introducing any germs into your actual home. There's a lot to think about. And so from the logistics standpoint, as well as the cost standpoint. So a few places to consider finding what you need. Online, of course, can be great, but I've also experienced where when this all started, we were trying to order masks and, things were running out as we were hitting the button. Just sold out. And then we finally got one through, and then we got a message a day or two later that said, we're sold out. And so we're still not shipping it to you, even though you ordered it and we charged it and all that kind of good stuff. And so online is an option. Amazon, I just saw a post for someone who ordered their supplies so that they are already, ready, locked and loaded, and they're saying everything is shipped and, and showing that. So Amazon may be a resource to have some items. Another thought that you can check, janitorial supply places. They'll have gloves, disinfectants, all of those types of things that we need to have as part of our sanitation. I'm not going to go through the whole deep list because I'm assuming that you're getting some of that from other places, but I do want to think about or talk about some things that I think you may not be hearing from other places. Restaurant supplies are another place. Some of these places are open to the public. We just went by one. Janitorial supply, and it has a big sign open to the public. And so you can access some of these resources, sanitizers and that type of thing. Of course, those can be a little bit challenging. I do actually, if you guys are interested, I do have a whole kit. It's I think it's On Guard, I think is the name of it, but it's a whole little kit that's put together. It's by a former hairstylist, former salon owner who put together this whole thing where there's a big gallon size, I think, of the sanitizer. There's several different sizes, so you can have it, at your station or what have you. There's lotion, because we know when we're washing our hands and using all this sanitizer with all this alcohol that the hands can tend to get dry. There's a box of gloves that's included with it. There's a mask that's included with it. It's really well thought out. So if you are looking for some of those resources, to let me know, because I can get you a connection with that and have the box shipped to you. There are a limited number of supplies, so if you are interested, definitely message me ASAP so I can make sure that you are one of the ones to get it. But we want them to go into salons, although they're good for, variety of different businesses. So the restaurant supplies, the janitorial supplies, Sally's Beauty, at one point was a great online resource. Their stores are not open, but they were still selling online, and they still had things like gloves and barbicide and some of the other things that we may need. And then, of course, you could always check your local beauty supplies. Some of them are open because they carry things like sanitizer, hand sanitizer, and gloves and masks and things like that. So they kind of reposition themselves in a sense, and some of them are open, but of course you may want to check either online or by phone to see before you start venturing out and masking up and all that kind of good stuff. So let's talk about your space when you go back. Waiting rooms, big question mark. You want to check with your state and see what the requirements are for a waiting room. Some people are saying remove everything from a waiting room. There is no longer a waiting room. All guests need to wait in their car. And I see the like, so thanks for that. And but some of you may live in cities where waiting in your car isn't really an option because people don't drive so much. And so one suggestion, if you can have waiting areas, cloth is not sanitizable. So if you have cloth chairs, as pretty as they may be, that you may need to remove those. But if you can find like a plastic type of chair, something that you can wipe down and sanitize, then that may be something that could work for you in that area. So that, I think, takes care of like the front part of the house. If you have any other questions or things that you think of, things that I'm not thinking of at this moment, feel free to, just put them in the comments there. And I'll do my best to answer them while I'm on here, and then I'll come back through and double check if you are watching this on the replay or what have you. It's like to make sure. Bathrooms. How are we going to sanitize our bathrooms after each person is in there? So one suggestion is to get as many things that are touchless as possible. We've all seen the paper towel that comes out where you just stick your hand under it so you don't have to actually touch anything. Oh, yeah, no magazines. You're absolutely right, Gia. No magazines. Some of you guys may have used iPads in your business as well. You may want to limit that or have some type of way that you are disinfecting those on a regular basis, because I know sometimes we've been using those for lookbooks and even checkout and those types of things. So make sure that those can be sanitized and that you have a way to do it without, of course, damaging the things. But yeah, all the magazines have to go. I haven't gotten to the back of the house, but some salons, we provided coffee, coffee bars and maybe snacks or something like that. We can't really have coffee. I guess if you serve it yourself to the client, that you could potentially have coffee. But a lot of people are just getting rid of the whole situation. No open food, of course, things like Danishes and donuts and things like that we might have had in the past as a nice little something. That's the thing of the past as well. Snack bars, if you have something that's in a package, you could have that. Bottled water you could have. I would suggest you, bring your person a bottled water. When I, would go to the manicurist and I just see a manicurist who works on, like one person at a time anyway. She always, if I want water or something like that, she'll bring me the water. So something like that could work. If you did like snack bars or something like that, I'd only put out like one, or maybe two, where someone's not touching all of them and then someone coming behind them and touching them again. And, have anything that you have that is in a package, you could have it laid out, but, like I said, just a few. So we've got, I think, the waiting room. I started talking about the bathroom and got a little distracted, but the bathrooms, touchless things as much as possible. Hi, LaDonna, welcome. With the soaps, no bar soaps, because people touch those all on the outside. Hi, Erica. The pump, we see the pumps all the time, and actually when I'm seeing the pumps with the sanitizer, it's making me crazy because I'm like, everybody has to touch the top of the pump to pump it out. So no pumps, either whether it's sanitizer, whether it's lotion, whether it is hand soap that's in the bathroom. We need some ways that things can be touchless. So they have some of those touchless dispensers for the soap. Sometimes they're messy. It might be something that you might need to install. Um, and I would say if there's some type of spray, almost like a Lysol type of thing, where you could Lysol the whole place down, and of course, wipe things down depending on, if you're using towels, if you can't find wipes. Everybody's like, oh, I need wipes. And it's like we functioned for years without wipes. So that is definitely something that you can, do with towels and that type of thing. Of course, we probably need more towels. We probably need more capes. There's definitely a cape per person, which is the way that it always should be. But I know some places don't or haven't done a cape per person, but a cape per person, and maybe even something to put over the cape. Some have suggested when they're in the shampoo bowl that they still have their mask on, and that you're covering their face with a towel as well. So that's going to make shampooing really fun. Okay. All of this, I say we've really just gone from, sanitation to sterile, where we're almost feeling like we're in a hospital. And there have been comments that say, to limit the amount of conversation that you have, since that's how it can spread, through the droplets that we all have as we're speaking. And so I'm like, wow, it's like, that's the fun part, is talking to the client. So, things to consider. I think I've covered the bathroom pretty well. But there does need to be a system, a checklist. It's like you're only going to be servicing, hi, Shalonda, one guest at a time if you're in a suite type thing, or if you work by yourself. But if you are in a, more of a traditional salon setting, you would want to make sure of how many people that you're going to have in the salon at one time. It may be staggering, may mean that you need to stagger when people work. Most salon bowls are not 6 feet apart. So if you have two, then that means only one person can be shampooing at one time, which is, unlike how we've operated in the past. If you have more than one bowl, then you probably want to do every other bowl, which is still, going to be, the whole process as far as doing clients is going to be a much slower process. So we have to take that into consideration. So I haven't gotten there yet, but with the bowls, really looking at your space and seeing how many can you use at a time, where you can maintain that 6 feet apart distance. And I think I've said as much with that. Of course, we want to wipe down the bowls, before we were working on a guest. There's a lot of things to do in between guests to make sure that the place is all set up for the next guest. I did read a post from someone, a stylist, who went back to work last Friday and kind of described her day. And so with everything that needed to be taken care of in between each client, after one client left and before another client came back, she said it was about 20 to 25 minutes of, prep time. And I'm sure that will get cut down as we kind of get used to, a little bit more of a different routine. But that still may be like, 10 minutes in between clients, which, that whole churn and burn, I don't know if you guys were like, okay, next. It's like as soon as you finish one, put the next one in the chair. We do a little mini wipe down, but it's like now we've got to really wipe down the entire chair, the arms, anything that may have been touched. Okay, you're asking, do I think State Board will be coming around checking on us? Probably not at first. There may be some monitoring. I don't know. I guess I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that most state boards, there's not a lot of people that are designated to do the state board visits. But this isn't even for state board. This is for our safety, for ourselves, for our clients, for our team. That we maintain these standards, because there's still a lot that's actually unknown about this, novel virus, as they call it. And so we want to do everything we can if we're going to go back to doing what we've loved to do, and do it as safely as possible. So I wouldn't worry so much about State Board, but I would worry about, following whatever rules and guidelines that you can to take care of yourself. That does bring up one thing. I think with, Georgia, I think that they have to have the face shields. I've heard some other states where they have not said that you have to have the face shields, but I think that's probably a good idea to have your mask on and then have the clear shield on over your entire face. And so all of this makes working really fun, right? It's like we've got gloves and, some type of covering on ourselves, a mask, which I still haven't figured out breathing in the mask. And then a shield over that, and then we're going to try to do hair. So it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I think that answers that. The stations, with your salon, it's like you need to double check with your stations. If you work with anyone else, are they 6 feet apart? Some stations already are 6 feet apart, and there's enough room for everybody to work, or there's enough room to go every other station where someone may have to move or relocate. But for some of you, you may have to have a carpenter come in and, put one of your stations that might be too close together on another part of the room, or, you may have to reconfigure to make it so that you can stay within that 6 feet distance. And especially if you have team members and, there's several of you, you've really got to make sure that, because you get into, it's not only you and your client, but 2 other people, let's say, and 2 other clients. So there's 6 of you guys that have to navigate within this space. And if your space is small, that's probably not going to work. So you may need to stagger, your times. And even if it will work, you've got to have it spaced out enough so that it can work for all of you guys to stay safe. And, then things like bathrooms and that type of thing become more of a bigger deal with how do you, make sure it's set for, after each person. And then, of course, if you have an assistant, that's another body. And so it just goes on and on. So let's look at the guest experience. And it's going to be different. It's going to be very different for the guest. As I mentioned before, it's like they really should come in with their mask on. Definitely no other people. Some salons have allowed, your spouse to come in or your kids or whoever, but no other people should be waiting. And of course, we mentioned earlier that you may not even have a waiting room. And if you do, it might just be like a plastic chair that you can sanitize. Waiting in your car until you're ready. If you have clients that are, live close to you, it's like with the time that we're going to take in between, cleaning up from one person before we can take the other person. If they live 10 or 15 minutes away, you may want to wait until you finish that client, maybe right before the checkout, and text that person, your next client, and say, okay, come on over. And so by the time, you finish checking out your guest that's there, cleaning up and getting everything sanitized for that person, that they're there. We definitely will have to work our schedules a lot differently than some of us have been working them, in order to, keep ourselves safe. Let's see. If they can't wait in the car, then you've got to figure something else out and how that's going to happen. If they, if you do mass transit, buses, trains, and that type of thing are the norm in your area, or there's very limited parking, you may have to figure out, how you could do the waiting area, if you can do the waiting area, if there's a place that's nearby where they might be able to wait until you're, able to escort them into the salon. So they need to wash their hands immediately when they get there. Some people are talking about sanitizer. I would suggest, an actual hand washing so that they are, really clean. And also you could wash your hands again, even though you've been, in the shampoo bowl, sanitizing everything down before they got there, but just so they see you. The perception is a lot of it as well. We want to let our clients know, and I was saying this before we, shut down, that the clients, like, we may have been doing all this stuff all along, but the clients don't know it, and the clients need to know it so that they feel more comfortable that you are taking certain precautions and really making it so that it is comfortable for them and safe and all of that. So let's see. And then you're going to put on your gloves. Then the cape. So what do we do with the capes? That's a whole nother scenario. So you'll have to make your own decisions, but you need to have a cape for each person, which may or may not increase your laundry. Um, you may want to have something that goes over the cape, something like plastic or what have you. You may want to do just a plastic cape, but you'll need the neck strips or the paper type towels are probably going to be a better option than the cloth towels. I've used cloth towels for years, but it may be going back to, beauty school and being able to throw that thing out and not use so many towels as well. Um, and not have more things for, germs or what have you to get trapped in, I guess you could say. So a couple suggestions or thoughts is like if you don't have enough capes, then you're going to need to buy more capes, enough for a day's worth of people, and you'll have to, we'll go through a little bit of figuring out what a day's worth of people is going to look like now. Um, and One thought is to do the disposable capes. Those are a thought. They can be a little less expensive to purchase, but of course you're going to need to keep purchasing them. So that can add up pretty quickly. Kind of those cloth slash plastic capes, or water repellent, I guess I should say, capes, they are more expensive. They will definitely last you longer, but you will have more laundry. You could have each person to have their own cape, where they purchase a cape from you and they take it with them and they bring it back, clean for you to use again when they come. And if you're going to do that, it's like I think retailing during this time is really good, and a good way to, kind of boost our income as well as, supply what's really needed. If you're going to do that, you may want to have some extras in case they forget their cape, but that may be part of, if you do a confirmation process, that may be part of what you're confirming. It's like, don't forget to bring your cape and, and your mask and all of that. So a couple things with the capes. Let them know, it's like, okay, we're going to sit down and everything. Let them know that, it's like we just sanitized the entire chairs, like the arms, and all the surface of my station or what have you. So everything is completely sanitized to reassure them. And then one thing I think that might be really helpful for us is another thing going back to beauty school. Remember when you had to lay out all your tools before you got ready to do a service? It's like, what the service is. So, if you'll need a comb or a brush or a whatever. And so laying out, what you're going to need for that particular person for the services that they have scheduled. And also putting some extra combs on there, because if you drop one, of course, we're not supposed to pick it up. But you don't want to have to go somewhere else to try to find one and wonder if it's clean or not, or what have you. So laying out all your tools that you need to have on hand and covering that with a towel. So everything is covered after it's been, of course, cleaned and sanitized and dried and all of that. But so everything you need is kind of already laid out, and we're not in that scramble, because every minute is going to really count, because we're not going to be able to do as many clients. We're not going to be able to double book, and, it may change the way our business is run, period, like forever, maybe. We'll see. But those are some suggestions for the guest experience. One thing that I have heard, and it's like, I don't know how credible it is. I don't even know if the people, the medical professionals or what have you, know either, because it's such a novel virus. But I have heard that the heat and air can spread the virus around into the air more. So some places are choosing not to blow dry. Some people are, having more hood dryers, but hood dryers are still, blowing hot air around. So you just kind of have to think of, if that's a service that you want to provide or not, and maybe do a little bit more research on what today's, message is, because, each day it seems like we get a new message about some part of this. So if you're working with an assistant, you definitely want to supply them with, masks that they can use. It's like you're going to need more than one mask. So, plan for that. With Georgia in particular, it's like you're probably changing mask each client. You may be doing that anyway. If you're doing like a cloth mask, you may want to have at least 2 or 3 to change through the day. again, check with your state guidelines. And again, some of them are out already because, folks will be opening in like the 8th is the date I've heard, and the 15th. I know Michigan is going to be much later and they don't have guidelines out yet. So that's where my sister is. So, check with your state to see what you need to do, but be prepared if you have an assistant to take care of them having some type of draping and having some kind of training as far as exactly what they need to be doing to make sure that the sanitation is taken care of in between the clients, during the clients, and that they are providing that image and comfortable aspect with the clients, that everything is safe and comfortable for them to be there. So if you're working with a team, same thing. It's like kind of, hopefully you're having some conversations now. One of the clients that I coach, we just went through some things to cover with her team. They're going to have to do some rescheduling. They have a fairly large team. I think there's about 10 of them all together. So they may have to do some reconfiguring of the salon. They may have to reconfigure schedules. There's been a big question with who to get in first, when you have a lot of clients that are like, oh, I want to get in, which was definitely the case a few weeks ago. Now it feels like some people are a little bit more hesitant to come out, but some people are really getting, kind of slammed with, can I be first? And thinking through how to do that. There's a lot of different schools of thought. Definitely, I think the people who were scheduled, your regular clients or that type of thing, you want to get them in ASAP because they've been the ones that have been coming on a regular basis. Anyone who bought gift cards, if you did that type of sale, you want to get those in maybe in a second tier. And, some thoughts, I've talked to a lot of different people, and some are going to work, fewer number of clients each day, but, probably work 7 days, 6 or 7 days, until they kind of get things back on a schedule, and then, go back to 4 or 5 days, but to kind of get everybody in and accommodated. We won't be doing doing 8, 10, 20 people a day. It's going to be fewer because of the way that we need to work. So if you have a team, definitely get together, definitely make sure everybody's on the same page, that there's not something that's going on. So then liability, I don't know what number I'm on. I don't even have these numbered, but there's a lot of things to consider if you haven't figured this out already. But liability, what if you get sick? Will clients think that they may have gotten sick? And maybe, if that's the case, maybe they will have. But we want to protect ourselves legally. So we may need documentation as far as releases, that they understand that they're coming in, at their own risk, that you're working at your own risk. What if a client gets sick? What are your requirements as far as notifying any other clients that may have been in that day? What are your requirements as far as your team? If you have an assistant, if you have other team members, what if they get sick? What if they may have been exposed to the person who came into your salon who was later diagnosed? Because literally, it's like I do know a couple people who were positive and they had no idea. One of them definitely had no idea that they were positive, but they were tested because of their spouse. And it's like, oh boy. So, and they had both gone along with their week as they would have normally, gone to work, gone to wherever, get their hair done or what have you. So I would suggest that you do need some waivers. I know Carla Jones with COVID-cation has prepared some. I haven't had a chance to look at them. I did order them, but I'd say whatever you get to kind of, hopefully as business people, we have some team members, one of them being an attorney, maybe if you have Legal Shield or something like that where they can review the documents. And if you don't, I may have some contacts for you as far as getting set up with that. But you probably want to have them reviewed so that you can make sure that they're good for your state, that they're covering any other things that the attorney might come up with, and that they're covering anything else that you might come up with as far as any potential liability. Because would someone win a lawsuit saying that your salon or what have you caused them to get sick? Who knows? But what happens with a lawsuit, if you've never been involved with a legal proceeding is that it ties up your time, it ties up your money. It's like if they're saying something against you, you have to defend yourself. And it's typically not you just defending yourself. Typically, you're going to need an attorney. It's going to be on your mind. It's like what happens with the rest of your clients. And, it can be really a pain in the neck, if nothing else, and a great loss of time, energy, and money. And you want to try to avoid it if you can at any cost. That's what I would say is my suggestion. So one of the things that I think we kind of think about, but maybe not think about so much, is how much is all of this going to cost us to even just open the doors to our salon. And so what I've been hearing is anywhere from $500 to $1,500 up front to get the needed supplies and gear, I guess you could say, that we'll need for our salons. It kind of depends on, how prepared you were before. Some people were stocking up on cleaning products and stuff prior to this. Some people will need more. You're definitely going to be going through cleaning products. You're going to be going through gloves. You're going to be going through masks. You're going to be, laundry, however you do that is going to be increased as far as the number of, towels and capes and smocks and, all of those kind of things may be increased. And so you're going to have, on top of that upfront cost, some ongoing cost. And so another thing to consider is how will you get paid? So, they're saying that cash is not good to handle because it can carry germs and what have you. I think, there's a lot of cashless setups as far as Cash App, PayPal, things that they can do from their phone that transfers the money to you, where neither one of you have to touch anything. And so those can be really good. And I would say even if you use your phone, like for credit cards, you can do the scan. There's a scan feature for most of them where you can put it and it'll like take a picture of it and it scans in the, all of the coding and stuff so that it pops up on your screen. So they could hold the card in their hand, you can hold the screen in your hand, and all the information will pop on your screen. And, where they have to typically sign, it's like you may not want to pass your phone around. You can sign, in salon would be something like that. Sometimes if someone's doing something by phone, I sign it on my end. It just says by phone. And so that there is a record and there is a signature there. It's not their signature, but, when you hit PayPal or not PayPal, but when you hit the send button, it will record that. So those are some of the options. It's like I would say that you can still probably take some cash. I wouldn't try to take a lot of cash, but, they have the spray disinfectant type of thing. Money can get a little wet without, and it can still be money. I'll say that. So it will dry and it won't be so that you can't use it. So if you do have cash, I'd handle it with gloves, a separate pair of gloves than the one you've been working on the client with. Like they should have in food services. The money doesn't interact with the food, and we shouldn't be interacting our things. So that's another pair of gloves, but, and spray the money down and just let it, sit and dry. So thinking about how you'll get paid, online booking services, some of them will have it so that your clients can pay, either prior to their service or right after their service. So there's a lot of different options. Zelle, Venmo. So do some research to see what's going to work out best for you. How many clients can you do? Good question to consider. It's going to be one at a time. No double booking, no triple booking, no people sitting around watching you, wondering when is their turn. Those days are gone. So all the clients that absolutely hated that, right now they won't have to worry about that because we can only do one person at a time. And so how many people can you do in a given day? Doing all of their service all the way through and having, I'd say, anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 minutes in between each client to make sure that your space is prepared to receive that next client. So say, it's like if you book on the hour, you still don't quite have enough time. So I'd say probably most services are between an hour and a half, depending on, if they're just getting a quick haircut, that's going to be faster. If they're getting, um, a silk press or something like that, that's going to take a little bit longer. And so you want to book according to how you work, and, maybe get into using a timer and book it. So maybe there's someone there every hour and a half or every 2 hours, allowing that extra time to be able to clean up and get everything disinfected and all of that prior to the next client arriving. So maybe if you do 2 hours per person from start to finish, and your longer services, you're going to need to book more. So if you do 2 hours per person and you work, say, 8, let's say even 10 hours in a day, you've got 5 people, which for some people may be like, 5 people, that's all. But that's a 10-hour day we're using, with only 5 people. And so one of the things I'm looking at, from my profit plan coaching is, will that reduce your income? And I think you don't have to be a math genius to figure out if all your costs go up and your income goes down, how do you make this a profitable business? And so we really need to look at the numbers. If any of you guys are interested, if you're wanting to meet, I'm doing some one-on-one profit planning sessions. They're absolutely free if you're watching this. They're regularly $20.20 as we do our 2020 profit plan, because this year certainly is not over. And we need to create some profit, however the year goes. We need to create some new streams if we find that the old streams aren't quite as profitable as we would like them to be. So you're going to have to look at your services by the hour, which is kind of what we needed to have been doing already anyway. But I'd say a minimum of $50 an hour needs to be what you need to be charging. Which may mean that some people may not be able to sit in your chair that were sitting in your chair, but you may not be able to accommodate them anyway. But you've got to make it so that it makes sense for you at the end of the day. And so, let's see. Should you... Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Aaliyah. Should you charge more? Another thing to consider. Lots of things to consider. I've said just checking the time there. I've said over the last few years, it's like everybody's like, oh, I'm a boss babe, I'm a this, I'm a that. And we've all wanted to be a boss, but now it's time to really boss up. And so, should we charge more when we go back? It's like, we're definitely going to have more expenses, when we go back. And so we should probably add that cost in some way or another. Some people have talked about service charges. I'm not as crazy about that, but it can work. You could have just a straight, a slight increase on your services. And you also could do, that along with some of the retailing to have some of these items that are available so that you increase your income. And so with the raising the prices, some of it depends on your clientele, and you're the only one that knows your clientele. And that's looking at, who are they? Who are your clients? I actually stopped doing hair in August. And so most of my clients I have been in contact with just to check on them and see how they're doing. But most of my clients are professional people, and they have been working from home. And so they have been working, they still have been generating income and what have you. And so when it's time to go back out, they'll be ready to, spend, probably whatever needs to be spent to get them back in shape. But if you have a lot of clients who are, say, in the restaurant industry, in retail, in any of those places that have just been devastated, even hospitality, I had heard at one point that Marriott laid off many of their, top managers, as well as, a lot of the other positions that are in the business. Disney, all of these companies have been doing some major layoffs. And so some of your clients, even though they may have been doing well before, may or may not be able to afford, something that's increasing instead of even staying the same. They may not even be able to afford what it was that they could afford before. And so looking at all of those things and taking all of those things into consideration, I think is really, really important. And looking at your clientele and seeing, how is this going to make sense for me to keep doing it with all of that in place? So is anybody else feeling like, woo, that's a lot? So if that's how you're feeling, just put a 1 in there, because I just want to get a sense of how you guys are feeling. Because it's, like I said, it will be anything but business as usual. It will be a new day. We need to restructure our business models and see how to best make the most of what we're doing right now. And it may include actually adding another source of income, potentially something online, in addition to, doing the services, because there's the thing of, Lauren's got a lot of ones there. It's going to include doing, not only doing a lot of things differently, but working in, whatever clothing you wear, which probably want to wear something lightweight, something to cover your clothing, gloves all day, a mask all day, a shield all day, and then trying to do hair. That in itself to me is like, okay, that's a lot. Just to, be able to even start the process. So I think that's pretty much what I have as far as things that you should consider. There's at least 7 that are in there. I may have thrown a couple extra in there. But I think that we really need to think this through. Everybody's like, I want to get back to work. I want to get back to work. I want to get back to work. And we're acting like it's going to be the same as it was when we left. And I can tell you right now that it's not. And so we need to start working on a plan. How are we going to do this? Thinking this through. And it isn't going to be, I'm just going to go old school and barbicide everything down and keep it moving. We've got to take some more levels of precautions with ourselves, for ourselves and our families, with our team, with our clients, and just, doing our absolute best to make sure that we're creating not only a professional environment, but a safe environment. And I don't even know where fun fits in. It's like we can't hug our clients. We can't have a conversation with our clients. It's like there's all these things that just completely change the game. So I hope this has been helpful for you, that you've gotten some things out of it, that you've taken a few notes, and that you're ready to start on your game plan to be able to reopen so that you're prepared and not scrambling at the last minute. And again, if you need sanitation supplies, I do have a great connection for that. It's a great little box that has kind of everything you need in it as far as the sanitizer, a big amounts, special, hospital grade disinfectant for everything, a mask, a box of gloves. And like you said, the box of gloves is $20. That's like, wow. And I think the whole box, I think it's $75, which is really, really a great deal. And you get, a hand sanitizer for your station and all of that. So, okay, I see LaDonna. It's like, I'll message you the details. I'll try to post something so everybody can see. And if you need some help kind of sorting through this and just designing a profit plan, because you may need to restructure how you're charging and what services you're providing. You may need to limit what services you're providing for a little while. If you would like to meet, because you're here watching, I'll do it as a free 20-minute profit plan session. And it's like, I do have a new Beauty Superstars website. It's still got a few little tweaks to get, but definitely feel free to visit it. I'm blogging, and it's like I'll be sharing all kinds of information, so be sure to sign up for that. And there's also a thing on taking care of your finances as well. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. And I'm going to sign off now. Again, I'm Miki Wright, salon business coach, and helping hairstylists to create a career that they love, which hopefully we're doing that, and the income that they love as well. So take great care. I'll see you guys soon, and Stay well, wash your hands, and we'll talk soon. Bye bye.